Well, welcome back. This is the Full Octave Music Channel. Today I'm coming to you. I have not been posting as of recent because I've been a little bit under a mishmash of fatigue and busyness and whatnot and this, that, and the other thing. So apologies for that. I'm going to be continuing to do more postings here. And I've been practicing some songs and finding that I need to do some modifications. I do have large hands and fingers, and so part of the dynamics that is involved with that is sometimes having to modify the chord you play and the type of chord you play. The instance I'm speaking of, there's a song that has a chord progression of a D to an A to an E minor and to a G. So in the instance of this chord progression, it's a beautiful chord progression, beautiful. And so what is the main thing is that you don't have to necessarily play the actual chord if you can find a chord that is close and something that is more palatable for you to play. So the song Light of the World has a D and an A, E minor, and a G. Now, what I've done here is, if you've tried to play an A chord, if you're like me, you have these three strings here. You strum from here down. These three strings, you have to have fingers on each one. Now, I've tried to do it with all three fingers in that fret, and as you can see, it does not sound good. And that is not the way that I'm going to be playing an A. I did figure out how to do this, where I kind of scramble-egged my fingers in there. It sounds alright. But one of the things that's difficult about this particular way to play the chord is that it's difficult for me to get that chord quickly. It's something that I can work on. And we've all heard that famous expression, fake it till you make it. So what I've done in the meantime is I figured out a way to modify the chord. One of the ways that I do the modification is, instead of using three fingers, I just use two. So I have to really make sure it's something it's a little bit of a tricky go. Kind of flat finger this first two strings, and then push the other one, which you got to kind of push hard because it's not close to the fret. It's not bad. It sounds a little bit muddy, and the way that you can test a chord, let's see, I'll purposely go on the fret here. Three of the four strings are okay, but that one there, not good. So moving it back a little bit. Still muddy. And this is why what I do in this case is I do a chord called the A2. Instead of having the three strings, you play two. So I can put two fingers on these strings. Still have to push down hard. This is a 12 string. So you have two strings that are together instead of one. And there you go. It's clean. It's still, you have to push down quite hard with your index because you can see how far away it is from the fret. And of course, when you're playing a guitar, the farther you get from the fret, the worse the note sounds. So this is called the A2. It's the way that I get around the A. And taking it even to a farther level, you can do a flat finger and push down and do a single finger. That's in the case where my finger is closer to the fret, therefore it is less of a struggle to push down as hard. And the great thing I like about the A2, and this is the reason why I'm using the Light of the World song, is the progression goes from A to an E minor. So to go from an A2, your fingers are here, and to do an E minor, you just move up each finger up a string. And so that is a way to get around the situation of the difficulty that comes from a chord. And so in that song, this is where also coming down on your fingertips is very important. And so the song's progression is D, going to an A, to an E minor, and then to a G. The whole song is those 4 chords only. So we go D, to an A, to an E minor, and then a G. And so when you begin to play music and you see the progressions, that's how you begin to really start to make sense of the music. It sounds beautiful. I chose a 12 string. I had a 6 string. I loved it. It was a McPherson. It was a phenomenal guitar. This is an emerald guitar. It's constructed of 100% carbon fiber, and it does not go out of tune. I've played this and played it and played it and doesn't go out of tune. So there's another aspect to finding a guitar that works for you. I chose a 12 string because of how rich and how full of a sound you get from it. You're actually playing 2 guitars together. And so those are reasons why I made my decision the way I did. However, to do a bar chord on a 12 string is very difficult. You can hear how it feels muddy. So you turn your finger up on its edge and it cleans it up. So there's many things that I've learned and many things that I have been able to realize through my journey of music. And these are all things that would not have been in my mind at the first, because once you begin to understand how chords work and how they work together, you can begin to compile a mental notebook of the way things work. And so these are just a few of the modifications. There's a chord that's a little bit tough to kind of get used to. It's called the G7. You have to do a kind of like a reverse of a G chord. It's actually really close to being a reverse. That's quite a difficult chord for me to do. However, you can play that same chord simply by doing a single finger chord. So this is a G7. Pretty much the same chord. The standard G7 has more of a full sound because it adds bass. Same thing with a C chord. C chord is kind of like my Achilles heel. It's something that I'm working on being able to find instantly, and it's a difficult thing. There is a way around it. Put your finger on the 2nd string, 1st fret, and that's a C note. You play the string above and below it. And so those are ways to get around the chord issue. We will talk later about planted fingers, when you have a G chord. You keep your ring finger planted. Move the other two fingers here. That's a D. Then go back to a G. You keep your finger planted and come back up. So those are all things that are factors in how to change chords quickly. And this is just a brief overview of how I've modified chords, and if you struggle with that, just thought I'd give you a couple tips on how I do it. Okay, until next time, I will see you all later, and keep on a-strumming.